So when you say, I want more money, I need to find a way of making more money. I need to research my ancestry and see if there is anyone that is rich that is on the brink of dying. Or I need to buy a lottery ticket, and I need to buy enough of them that I increase my odds. I need to find out where those winning tickets are being purchased, and I need to go purchase a lot of them there. Or I need to find a way of saving more money, and I need to find an investment counselor that really knows what they are doing so that they can help me to increase my portfolio so that some years from now I will have more money. And we say, it's no wonder you get lost in the desert. Some of these action journeys are so huge and long and convoluted and have so many moving parts that you can't get your thoughts around them. Where if you would understand that all you need to do is say, I want to find a way of feeling better about finances. I want to take the emotional journey of fear of bankruptcy or fear of not being able to pay my bills to a feeling of confidence and well-being that things are going to be all right. Because you can make the emotional journey in minutes. You can make the emotional journey in minutes or hours or a day or two, certainly no matter where you are, if you understand the process of making the emotional journey. The reason that most people get lost in the idea of it or have a hard time grasping the idea of it enough that they even want to try to play the game is because often you've been trying to make too big of a vibrational jump. If you are in despair or depression, if you are in those places of fear, when you are, for whatever reason, focused upon something and have been focused upon something long enough that you have pretty well established a vibration that's not allowing the well-being to flow to you, and someone says to you, you know you create your own reality. Your logical mind says that cannot be true or you would be dead. Your logical mind says if I created my own reality, you wouldn't be hounding me all the time about me creating my own reality. In other words, what you really feel is, if I could create my own reality, I wouldn't be in this mess. And the fact that I am must mean that there is somebody else or something else involved in it. And we say, it is not that there is something else involved in it. You are the only one involved in your vibrational point of attraction. It's just that you're offering vibrations and you don't know the potency or importance of the vibrations that you're offering. And so when you start getting a handle on this emotional journey, then you will begin to make the absolute correlation between what you're thinking and feeling and what's coming to you every single time. So as you're in this place of despair, let's say, for whatever reason, and someone says to you, the best words that we've ever heard offered in your physical environment were coined by Joseph Campbell when he said, follow your bliss. That's the key to success in all things. Absolutely true. But you don't have access to the feeling of bliss from your feeling of despair. The vibrational difference is too great, any more than you could set your tuner to 98.6 FM and hear what's being broadcast on 6:30 AM. In other words, there are different vibrational frequencies you're not going to hear. So when you say, well, if I cannot follow my bliss, what hope is there for me? We say, well, follow the trail of bliss. And the first step from depression along the trail of bliss may very well be for you anger. You say, well, that's doable. And isn't it? Can't you feel it? Have you ever been in a place of depression where you couldn't get a breath of air? And then you thought of something that made you angry, and didn't it feel better? You got to admit that anger feels a whole lot better than that depression, just like blame feels better than guilt. It does, doesn't it? Blame feels a lot better than guilt. There is so much more disempowerment in guilt. There is so much more loss of the feeling of freedom in guilt. So, if you were, as most of you are, as you come to these gatherings, usually vibrating somewhere between frustration and overwhelmment and joy. In other words, that's usually where your emotional set point is, different depending on the issue that you're focused upon, but usually in the upper registries. We would not counsel you into anger from your feeling of frustration. That's going the wrong way. That's turning around and going back to Phoenix. But if you are in despair, we will root for the breath of fresh air that anger would bring you. And the reason that we would coach you into anger is because we know that in that anger, you're going to feel some relief. And in that relief, you're going to have moved your point of attraction. It will have shifted a little bit. In other words, you're not as stuck in disallowing the well-being that you've been asking for as you were in your despair. Now, we would never say, just go to anger and stay there, because from anger, you can easily get to frustration. And frustration is a big difference in feeling from anger. So are you getting the sense of this? What you're reaching for as you are moving up the emotional scale, what you're reaching for is the feeling of relief as you leave the resistance behind. So there is relief in anger. You know there is. And there is relief in frustration. You know there is. And there is relief in hopefulness. And then there's relief in belief. And there's absolute relief in knowing. In other words, you can feel when you release resistance, which is the only thing that is keeping any of you from what you are really wanting. You are pure, positive energy beings. You are God force in physical form. You are extensions of source energy, and life is supposed to be good for you. You are creators that flow the energy that creates worlds, and you are standing on the leading edge of thought. It is supposed to feel good for you. Life is supposed to be good to you. And when it isn't, it is only for one reason. You have picked up a habit of thought, and you've practiced the beating of that drum long enough that you have established it as a vibrational habit. And as you continue to feel that vibrational habit, unless you do something to change the way you feel, law of attraction is going to continue to bring you stuff that feels like that. And as law of attraction continues to bring you stuff that feels like that, and you observe the stuff that feels like that, and you justify the way you feel by the stuff that keeps coming, then we understand why you feel stuck. But we promise you, you're not. You just got a cadence going that you need to shift a little. We've noticed that sometimes very powerful, very good teachers who are counselors might not understand the power that you give yourself when you find something that feels a little better to you. Most people worry when you go from depression to anger. Most people who know you would rather you're depressed than angry. Because when you're depressed, you go away and you leave them alone. And when you're angry, you're in their face. You're hard to be with. But you must reach the place, if you are going to listen to the guidance system that is within you, and it is what the art of allowing really is about. The art of finding thoughts that cause me to allow my connection with Source, that allow the well-being that I've identified to flow to me. So, when someone says to you, you should not be angry, just say to them, maybe not, but I am, and I'm glad I am. You should feel how bad I felt before I got mad. This anger is a big improvement for me. And if you don't like it, go someplace else. I won't be here forever. But right now, it's what I'm choosing, and it feels good to me. Now, here's the power in this, and this is what we really want you to hear. Now, we're really not big encouragers of running around and telling people you're angry, because they will disagree with the appropriateness of it, and they will try to talk you out of it, and then you will just end up angrier or more depressed. In other words, we see so many. You go, you're depressed, maybe. Some of you have never felt that. Most of you have at some point or other. When you really, really, really want something and you really, really, really can't figure out how to get to it, it really, really, really feels awful. And the more important something is to you, then the more awful it feels when you feel powerless to do something about it. So if you are in that place where you are feeling some depression, and you find the life-giving breath of air that delicious anger brings you, and you stop in the middle of it and you do this, which is essential. You say, I chose this angry thought on purpose. Now, you don't have to choose the angry thought on purpose. You will be guided to it from God. In other words, you're guided from within to the thought that will give you more relief. You are guided there all the time from within. So the angry thought sometimes is just a knee-jerk response. But when you do it on purpose and you stop and say, I have chosen this thought because it feels better, can you feel the most important thing that has happened at the same time? You've also regained your power. In the moment you say, I was able to choose something and I now feel better, Now you realize there's no place you can't go. So if I can go from despair to anger, then I can go from anger to frustration. And if I can go from anger to frustration, then I can go from frustration to hopefulness. And if I can get to hopefulness, then I can get anywhere. In fact, if you can get to frustration, you can easily get anywhere. In fact, many of you can get almost anywhere from anger, because the trip from anger to frustration is not a very big vibrational jump. And once you make those jumps, knowing who you are and knowing what you want and vibrating as much as you do in the higher registries, then you can make those jumps. But it is a quantum leap from despair to bliss. Most of you got to die to make that one. In fact, death is a sort of quantum leap vibrationally for many of you. Meanwhile, why not open the floodgates and allow who you really are to come here, rather than you having to withdraw and go there? Here, there, interesting, isn't it? Physical, non-physical, really all the same thing. Good. So today we're eager to talk with you about anything that is important to you. It is our desire to assist you in moving up the emotional scale, no matter where you are. But more important than that, it is our desire to assist you in feeling the control that you have of the way you feel. Because if you leave here today feeling confident that you can control the way you feel, then you leave here knowing that from where you are, you can get to anywhere that you want to be. If you will make it an emotional journey first, you will adjust your vibration. If you adjust your vibration, you adjust your point of attraction. If you adjust your point of attraction, then all things that you've ever said you want can flow seamlessly into your experience. You can feel the logic of it, can't you? Good. We're done. We've enjoyed this interaction immensely. Our work here is really done. There is nothing that you will hear from us that will be of any greater value than what you've already heard. In other words, that is the key to anything that you're wanting. We are willing, if you want, to chew with you on anything that is important to you. Nothing is off limits. You will notice a very nice unfolding here. Do not feel alarm if we do not call on you. We are aware of everything that you're wanting to talk about. Sometimes someone will come to the hot seat and they will ask the question that is good to precede your question. Sometimes a person will come to the hot seat and they will ask your very question. Sometimes they will ask your question close enough to what you would have asked, that it will give you the benefit of being not in the hot seat, because sometimes you're more likely to hear your answer if you're not in the hot seat. Hard to ask a question and get all wrapped up in the question and be in that moment also in the place of receiving the answer. Sometimes that's why our answers seem long to those of you who are not in the hot seat. Seems like it takes a long time sometimes to make our way through some of these. Those longer questions, however, are always answering many questions that are happening all around the room. Sometimes someone will sit in a hot seat and 25 or 35 or 45 questions will all be addressed within the framework of the one interchange. So don't be alarmed about it. We would encourage you, when you do come to the hot seat, to bring the thing that is most important to you. Let's talk about that, and then let's release and allow others to come and talk about what's most important to them. That way we will accomplish the most that can be accomplished in this period of time. We want to say to you that nothing will go unanswered. Listen for your answer. It is our promise it will be here for you. Whether you let it in or not is up to you. Eventually you will. You do not need Abraham or Esther allowing Abraham for you to receive the answers to anything that you want. For each of you has the ability to ask and receive. Not one of you here could not do exactly what Esther is doing. She's just practiced getting herself out of the way. The benefit that she gives you is she's not in the asking mode right now. She's in the allowing mode. So when you ask, what you're wanting can be verbalized. But you are not needing Esther for this. You can do the same thing.